Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to call the Operations Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 13th, 2020 to order. Roll call has been taken.
Yes. No, all present.
Thank you. Any disclosure of peculiar interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I need a mover and seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting of September the 8th, 2020. Moved by Councillor TJ, seconded by Councillor Bennett. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We are very pleased to have a delegation this morning. We have Inspector Steph Neufeld from the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment and Staff Sergeant Pat DeSavio. I knew I'd forget it, Pat. DeSavio from the Killaloo Detachment here this morning. We asked them to join us to discuss basically speeding and a couple of other problems that have been expressed as getting out of hand in Renfrew County. So perhaps if I don't know, maybe Inspector Neufeld, did you want to start with a couple of comments, and then we'll have some comments from the county representatives here today.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Again, my apologies to everyone for my tardiness. So thank you very much for having us. I do want to acknowledge Inspector Ferguson from Renfrew Detachment was not available to attend. There was a conflict. She is on a training course and could not attend today, but she did send her greetings and her regrets for not being able to attend. Thank you very much for having Staff Sergeant DeSavio and I on today. So initially, when Lee and I corresponded, the committee was asking for some policing topics, and I said, yeah, by all means. I said it'd be better if we could maybe narrow it down to a couple topics, and what came up was speeding, DUI, which is an American term. We use impaired driving up here by drugs or alcohol or a combination thereof, and mufflers, which was kind of funny. So I'll start with that one. If Pat wants to chime in at any point in time, by all means. So at the last Pembroke Police Service Board meeting, it came up about a couple of noise complaints in the city here regarding noisy mufflers. And I had mentioned that I had done this project in two of my previous detachments called Operation Decibel, which targets illegal mufflers. Actually, the project itself back in the day was to target bikers and straight pipes, but easily applied to improper mufflers, which goes to the same charge under the Highway Traffic Act. I said, no problem. I said, I could easily do up a little blitz here in UOV, and I did want to do it at the end of August, because once September hits, and I know all the detachments are the same, our focus, especially in light of what this year has been, was going to be school buses and the return to enforcement in the school zones, simply because of the absence of school buses since pre-March break. I didn't want to have two campaigns going in September, so I said, let's do this in August. So it's funny how certain things hit a nerve in communities. And I'll go back to the start of the year. We did a spring seatbelt campaign like we do every year. Distracted driving campaign. We had May 2-4 traffic long weekend, Canada Road Safety Week, July long weekend traffic blitz, civic holiday long weekend blitz. No emails, no nothing. We do our press release. Hey, this is coming. Here's the results at the end of the year. We put out a notice that we were going to be doing this blitz on mufflers, and the emails that came in to my email box, unbelievable. This has clearly struck a nerve in the community. People sending about time. I can't believe you're finally doing this. Like, all positive. Several people responding, this is affecting my mental health. Thank God you're doing this. Like, this has really struck a chord in the community. So much so. Anyway, we do our blitz, Operation Decibel, got lots of attention. Yes, there were charges issued that are still before the courts. So these are allegations only. The community response was certainly not something that I expected. Now, some people will say there's more people working from home, more people are actually paying attention to the noisy vehicles, and it's upsetting them. So, regardless, whatever the reason was, it was an issue in the community and the surrounding area. So much so that it's going to be an annual thing for us in UOB. The mufflers that we deal with typically are not every traffic stop, as everybody knows, has to end in a ticket, right? We have the option of certainly using our discretion, a little bit of education sometimes. I'm sure, have all, been walking downtown or, sitting on our front porch, and you have that one car that goes by and you think like your windows are shaking and the world is coming to an end. Those are kind of the ones that we want to, educate a little bit more. But that Operation Decibel was a huge success, got a tremendous amount of traction in the media, on the social media side as well. I'll say with all those emails, there was only one negative one, and it was from a gentleman nothing even to do with UOB. He was from Peterborough, saying the Peterborough cops harassed me and this is BS. He felt the need to respond to our project up here, but whatever. Pat, did you want to, Staff Sergeant Disavera, did you want to chime in on anything?
All good at my end.
Any questions about the mufflers or the projects or the enforcement that we do before I move on from the committee?
Any council members have comments? Or Councillor Lynch, please.
Thank you, Chair. Inspector, the mufflers we have here in Armpire seem to be about 5 to 6 inches in diameter, chrome. Are they legal? Like, they're selling them, so obviously they're either legal or not legal. That's in the old days, sort of give our age away, we used to have the thrush and the Hollywoods.
Yeah.
Somewhat illegal, but we still had them on our cars.
So the Hollywood mufflers are illegal under the Section 75 of the Ontario Highway Traffic Act. It is clearly stated that those gutted straight pipes, Hollywood style mufflers, are illegal. Some people will say, well, you have no noise tester. There's no decibel reading. That there is no specific definition for how loud those mufflers can be in the Highway Traffic Act. I know in some states they actually have decibel readers that measure the sound. What is legal and illegal. That does not exist in Ontario. It is completely at the officer's discretion, and certainly the officer would have to articulate if it went to court why that muffler was illegal, what was wrong with it. Councillor Lynch, based on your description, it's a little bit hard for me to say whether it's legal or legal. If you go to Canadian Tire, they do sell them up, but it says right on the product, not for street legal use. And that's just, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of them that you can go buy in certain stores in Ottawa, I know, that sell these, but they do have the disclaimer that says these are not for street use. People put them on. I mean, I try to use, when I was speaking to the police service board in Pembroke, certainly police officers and the direction that the OBP is going is not to say, and I mentioned this earlier, that not to say that any law in the Highway Traffic Act is more important than the other. They're all equal under the eyes of the law. The Ontario Highway Traffic Act is just that, all the laws that govern the roads and highways for Ontario. The OPP, we try to focus on the ones that, like kill people. Like that is your seatbelt misuse. That is the distracted driving. That is the aggressive driving, the speeding. I hate to say that we put mufflers, on a bit of a lower threshold. We do, but because it was enough complaints in the community, we said, you know what? Yeah, we can do a little blitz, and it just, like I said, it struck a chord in the community. So much so that I would dare say this will become an annual thing, the enforcement. Sorry, I without an accurate, without actually seeing it, it's difficult for me to say whether the description that you provided is legal or illegal.
If I can jump in there, Inspector? If I can jump in, Inspector?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So the offense doesn't take place until the loud muffler is witnessed. I can go buy any muffler I want. I can go put it on my car. It only becomes illegal once it's on the road making noise for the unnecessary noise charge. So to be proactive about it, you can do the information, education, engagement piece. The inspector correctly touched on, we don't carry around decibel readings. It's the same conundrum that we fall into when we talk about tinted windows. Well, we don't have a tinted window measuring device that we use. It's an officer's ability to articulate how it was loud. And the problem also lies in, if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and there's one person, loud muffler, maybe not, I don't know. But maybe if you're driving downtown Pembroke and in between the echoing of the two buildings right in downtown, what was maybe kind of on the cusp of being unnecessary noise absolutely is now, just because of its environment. That's all I wanted to add.
I think the offense really can't be based really on the muffler itself. It's the operator of the machine, and how if they excessively speed or rev the engine, the noise generated is the offense. The unnecessary noise should be the offense in my mind. And I live out in the country, and there's times where you can't talk in your own backyard because of the noise, and you can hear the noise for 3 and 4 miles after they make the turn on McLean Avenue. Councillor Emo, please.
Yes, thank you. And to the inspector, a quick question: motorcycles and snow machines in the winter time, is that something that you'll be considering as well, and possibly across the county when you meet with the other commanders?
So two different avenues. I'll start with the motorcycles. So we do, well, one season coming to an end, the other one will be starting soon at one point. And I'll even touch on one in between, which is our ATV season. Mm-hmm. So yes, the motorcycle enforcement does occur. Again, a little bit more special. Like I ride a motorcycle myself. So, and as a former traffic officer, I'm going to say I'm fairly well versed in the motorcycle enforcement side of things. Like anything else, you get good at what you do a lot of. Officers that are more traffic oriented get a lot more comfortable with doing traffic stops and doing certain kinds of enforcement. And that was basically what I focused on in my career. So I think I can speak to it. Certainly the motorcycle enforcement season, if you will, is coming to an end. I can say that it wasn't when I first landed here in 2017, in UOB, we had a minor problem, and I'll say minor because it was dealt with very quickly with some local motorcycle enthusiasts, we'll call them. But since then, it's been very, very low key here, actually throughout the valley, because I do stay in touch with that. There's some stuff going on in Lanark right now, but as far as motorcycle enforcement, not a huge issue. We do have one-offs. And to Mayor Peckett's point, there are certainly where we are out in White Lake, there are motorcycles that go by, you think the world is coming to an end. That's how loud those pipes are. There are others, like I have a Harley. Are the pipes loud? Sure, but they're not obnoxious. And it's all on the rider's abilities as well. Like if you're sitting there and you're just revving it, well, yeah, that's going to garner attention from people. And if it garners attention from the police while you're doing it, well, that's driving is a privilege in Ontario. It's not your right. And that applies to motorcycles and cars. It is a privilege, not a right. Moving on to our ATV season, and then subsequent that to our snowmobile season. So we do have both ATVs and snow machines here in UOB that we do our enforcement on. We do have we do lean heavily on our SAVE unit, which is based out of our headquarters for assistance in that regard. The reality is it does take a specialized course to operate our ATVs and our sleds. It's not just anybody, hey, let's go out on the sleds today. It is a specialty course. So not everybody is qualified to operate these machines. First off, those that are, it's a matter of getting them scheduled. And I'll use the analogy. It's always, we want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck if we're putting two officers out on sleds. So do I want them to go out on a Tuesday morning where there's, nobody on the trails? Or do I want to put them out on a Saturday on a day where there's maybe a poker run or some event where they will get lots of visibility? So we have to be strategic with our resources. But like I said, the SAVE unit, which we do rely heavily on for assistance and piggyback with them for events. They are up here in the valley regularly all through the fall and into the winter. And you'll definitely see us and them. And I know, actually, I'll let Staff Sergeant DeSiberio talk about the kill loose side of things, because I'm not sure what resources he has. What I can tell you is certainly if there's major events, we do share resources and we do partner up for events where we need to, if we need to have a heavier presence on the trails, we certainly do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Inspector. So to add to Inspector Neufeld's comments, we don't send out ATV officers and snow machine officers by themselves. There's always two. So that ties up two bodies on our shifts. We try and plan ahead because there are some things you can't just change people's officers' schedules last minute. So I might book something for next Friday. Two officers are in, there's enough people in on the shift, and all of a sudden somebody calls in sick. Now I don't have enough because I can't send out two officers. We do Inspector Neufeld mentioned SAVE. They also like to come and visit in Killaloe detachment area. And I know, speaking for Inspector Ferguson, they absolutely hit Renfrew detachments area as well. So sometimes we might double up with one of them. The other piece that when it comes to the snow machine is now you have to go through, there's an ice water self-rescue portion to the snow machine qualification for the OPP. So some of us that went through never got that training. That's a new addition, and correct me if I'm wrong, Inspector Neufeld, but I think that's probably within the last 3 or 4 years. So now my officers that were trained prior to that, I've been trying to send back for that ice water self-rescue training, but I wasn't able to do that early on in the year due to the COVID piece. So I'm a little behind the 8 ball that way. We have a couple of officers that are snow machine trained with the ice water rescue self-rescue piece, and some are not. So until they are, I can't use them. Same thing applies to the ATVs. We send them out 2 at a time. But we do try and do that enforcement. I'm a very big advocate of public safety, both not just on our roadways, but our waterways, our trails. And that's ATV trails and snow machine trails. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Warden Robinson, please.
Thank you, Chair Peckett. So I'm assuming, I know that when lower tier municipalities, if they have a speeding issue on one of their streets or the roads, we contact your detachments and you go out and you sort of sit there and wait for the people to come and catch them. It usually works, and it just, dissuades people from doing it. The issue we will have this winter will be speeding on our trails. It was an issue last year, and will be an issue this year as well. So if we are getting those complaints, are the detachments again open to scheduling in specific areas to try to cut down on those issues? And usually complaints are where the trails run close to a residential area.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, the answer is we will always do our best to address any issues that occur on the trails or waterways. If we're talking about specifically the sleds in the winter, again, trying to be strategic with our resources. If somebody is saying like every Saturday there's sleds ripping by on the trail, well, we don't want to send somebody out on a Tuesday. We want to get the best bang for our buck. I'll qualify that. Will there be instances where somebody says on a Tuesday morning, holy geez, 10 sleds just ripped by my house, and we don't have anybody available? That's quite possible. There will be instances like that. Just like, for example, if somebody reported an issue with a boat today, we don't have a boat in the water today. We have boats available that if we have to go out, we can. But do we have a boat in the water today? The answer is no. There will be instances that occur like that. However, if it's a matter of trying to be as strategic with those resources as we can. If we know that every Tuesday morning there is a group of sleds that go by doing excessive speeds, then yeah, you know what? Let's gear up, or let's get safe to set up on a Tuesday morning to address the issue. But if it's being said more in generality, every day they're speeding on this trail, then okay, well, what time? Between what time and what time? And maybe we just have somebody out on the sleds for the morning and then in the afternoon, because again, operationally, we have to make sure that we have enough bodies to cover off all of our zones. If we have additional officers beyond that want to get on the sleds, then we can do that. But if we're operating in a situation where people are away on vacation, somebody is away on course, and we don't have enough bodies to fill our zones, well, that of course is the priority. If somebody's calling for police assistance, we have to have bodies to answer the phone, basically. Yes, ma'am.
I absolutely understand that, and I understand the priorities for sure. We're just living in an area where there are a lot of trails, and I'm really thinking about snowmobiles here. So a lot of snowmobile trails brings a lot of tourism in the wintertime. Absolutely. We want that to happen, but we also want it to be safe. So is there a role for us to play as a county council to advocate that you get additional resources? Because I would think the demand here may be higher for that type of police service than there would be in, say, an urban area.
Let me think about that. I don't, Pat, do you have an immediate answer there? That's maybe something I could chew on a little bit.
the only thing that comes to mind, Inspector and Warden, is in section 10 type policing services, so contract locations where, and I had this back in Nottawasaga's area, where we had enhancements. Now the enhancements there were particularly used for schools, but when the schools were shut down in the summer, those enhancements still stuck around to help us out with other forms of enforcement within those 3 municipalities, the 3 townships. Just to have we don't have that here. I know my PSB is only is Bonnechere Valley. So could you have enhancements within Renfrew County? There is an allowance for that, but there would be planning that would need to take place, and that's more funds from the county, from the municipalities. That's a very long road and convoluted road to go down. So it's tough. We'd have to try. I think Inspector Neufeld's probably wrapping his head around trying to get regional resources here that are shared amongst the 12 or so detachments that make up East Region, and trying to schedule something. I know, for example, for the summer, our Marine program is such that we set up a Marine schedule. So we each detachment in Renfrew County, I think we work wonderfully together, myself, Inspector Neufeld, and Inspector Ferguson, and we give up a body from the road to contribute to the Marine program to keep our waterways safe. So my Marine officer might double up with Inspector Neufeld's Marine officer, and one day they hit the Ottawa Rivers area. Sometimes they come and hit the lakes here in my area. Sometimes my officer might double up with Renfrew County's Marine officer and they go do there. We try and do those things with the snow machines. I know my ERT members like to get out on the snow machines as well, but if they get, and I can plan as best as I can for utilizing them as to do some snow machine education, engagement, and enforcement, and I can plan that, and the morning of, they get an ERT call. Well, then they're gone. Those things take priority.
I don't think, thanks, Pat. And you're, yeah, I mean, let's face it, cash is king, right? I mean, yeah, if the county wants to pony up money for 2 full-time bodies, yeah, sure, we can do it. I think I like what you're saying, staff. I wonder if perhaps at our next DC meeting there, maybe we could look at maybe probably not a full-time, but even if we did it on a bi-weekly basis, like on the weekends, like a Saturday, Sunday, again, target rich environment, high visibility, and let's face it, as a, you know, I'm on the trails as well, and as soon as the save unit is there, everybody's chatting about it. They know, like, the word spreads like wildfire. Oh, save is up here today. So Warden, leave that with us, and we'll discuss that offline and see if that is not something that we could set up, even if we did it maybe a more structured, a more robust trail enforcement this year in the county. Leave that with us.
Thank you very much. That would be great to hear what you could propose for us. Thanks very much.
Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. To Inspector, do you have a drone section of the OPP? I'm thinking on the highway, we see this road is patrolled by aircraft. If we had the sign on our Algonquin Trail saying patrolled by drone, if that might deter some of the people?
So we do have drone capabilities. They are not for enforcement purposes. Hang on a second, correction. They are for surveillance purposes and for mapping purposes for crime scenes or traffic collisions, missing persons searches, not in the sense that on the highway where you see the hash marks where there was aircraft enforcement done. Unfortunately, on the trails, that has to be done the old-fashioned way, where you're pulled over to the side with your sled and you're standing outside with the radar handheld Genesis doing the enforcement that way.
Okay, thank you. Let's maybe we'll touch briefly on alcohol consumption with while driving. I, for one, sort of added that in because my wife and I walk the roads throughout the township, and we can pick up bagfuls of empty beer cans and bottles. And my roads crew tell me that they can buy all kinds of equipment with the refunds they get with empty alcohol bottles found out in the area while they're working. And I'm hearing similar comments from my fellow peers throughout Renfrew County. Is there, I know I'm hearing that the OPP are sort of a bit handcuffed now. You can't just pull somebody over to check to see if they are drinking anymore. Is that true? Or I know they have ride programs, but we can pick up beer cans along Campbell Drive and Osborne and McLean Drive every day, and then you come back the next day and there's fresh ones out there. So it seems to me like on a daily basis, people are drinking while driving and tossing them out. What is happening now with the OPP and people not necessarily impaired, but open alcohol in the vehicle and being consumed? Could you give me just a little update of what's happening now, or what the laws are now with consuming while driving a vehicle?
Inspector Neufeld, can I grab this one, start it off?
By all means.
So if I can take just a little step back to give you a quicker understanding. In Canada, we have impaired operation of a motor vehicle, and you can be impaired by alcohol or drug. We also have over 80 charge. Over 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood is another charge. They're two separate things. And I'll give you the analogy of Inspector Neufeld. He drinks every weekend, a 2-4 a day. Sorry to give that up, but that's what he does. And so
with his job, I can understand that.
He's got a tickle trunk full of money. He can afford it. But so Inspector Neufeld, while he would probably on any given day blow over 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood, his ability to drive may not be impaired to the point that we could lay an impaired charge. When you look at an impaired charge, it's like pieces of the puzzle. I have allergies, so I have red eyes. While I'm driving, I have red eyes. Does that mean that's a sign of impairment? No. However, when I take that piece of the puzzle and now I add those red eyes to slurred speech, strong odor of alcohol, I see a bottle of beer in between there. When I ask the driver for his driver's license, I see him reach for his glove box, but he misses the button that hits the glove box. All of those things are pieces of the puzzle that when you put them together, builds my evidence for an impaired. So if I see all those things while you're driving, and I had occasion to pull you over because maybe what drew me to pull you over was your poor driving. You're all over the ice. You're driving too slow. You're driving too fast. Whatever it is. If I get all that pieces of the puzzle, I'm going to arrest you for impaired operation of a motor vehicle. Now, when I arrest you for impaired, you're coming with me to to a closest detachment that has an intoxilizer technician and an intoxilizer, where you will be given the opportunity to provide 2 samples of your breath. If you do not provide those 2 samples, I charge you with refuse. You've given me 2 breaths, 2 breaths, you blow over 100, even though the legal limit is 80, the accepted milligrams per alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood is 100 across the province and perhaps even across the country. I can't speak to other countries, even though the legal limit's 80. The Crowns prosecute for 100 and more. So now I'm going to charge you for the original impaired, and now you've blown over 80. Let's take the reverse. I pull you over for whatever reason, and not for whatever reason, I mean arbitrarily. I mean, I have a legal reason for pulling you over. You failed to signal, speeding, you touched you drove off roadway, whatever the case may be, but I can't pull you over arbitrarily. I have to have a reason, a legal reason. So I pull you over. I sense the smell of alcohol a little bit, but I have no other signs of impairment. I just have suspicion that you might be over 80. So I give you a roadside screening device breath demand. If you don't, that means you blow into the machine on the side of the road. That's a tool for us. It is not an intoxilizer. So now you have to blow in that if I make that demand. If you do not blow, that's a refuse. It carries, the refusals carry the same weight as the actual charge of impaired or over 80. But you come to the back of my car, you blow, you can either blow an F for a fail, which means those machines are calibrated for more than 100 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood. And we want that calibration because by the time I arrest you and take you to the intoxilizer, and you in between there, I read you your rights, and you have a right to speak to a lawyer or legal counsel before you blow, and that could take a few hours possibly. Well, that 100 milligrams of alcohol calibrated fail allows for a time gap where your blood alcohol could be coming down. It could also be going up. We don't know. So now we get you back to the detachment and you blow in the intoxilizer. What got me there was the fact that you blew a fail on the roadside. So now when you blow to the detachment, you come to the detachment and you blow over 80 milligrams of alcohol. If you blow over the 100, we charge you for over 80. But that doesn't mean I can charge you for impaired because I have no evidence to the impaired. Does that make sense before we move along?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so now I can't pull you over arbitrarily. I need some reason to have an interaction with you. And I think our officers do a good job of being on the watch for impaireds and over 80s when we're pulling our people over. Rides are something entirely different. The courts recognized that there is a need for this and what a ride looks like. And that's why we conduct them.
Okay, so is there still a charge for having open alcohol in your vehicle?
Yes, it's under the Liquor License Act. It's a provincial statute.
Okay.
It's not a criminal code offense. The impaired, the refusals are all criminal code offenses. They're criminal charges.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Anything to add to that, Inspector?
No. Impaired driving constitutes part of the Big Four. When I spoke earlier about, mufflers not being on the same level, I mean, the OPP, we focus on the offenses that are going to cause injury or death, the leading causes of injury and death on our highways. That's our distracted driving, which is actually overtaken impaired driving now. The impaired driving, which is criminal, not traffic, but still constitutes part of our Big Four. The seatbelt misuse, and the aggressive driving or speeding. I did pull up our numbers up till the end of, unfortunately, it only goes to the end of August because they're still compiling the September numbers. Now, I mean, stats can be interpreted in multiple different ways. For impaired driving this year, and now this is just Upper Ottawa Valley, this is not any other areas in Renfrew or Killaloe, but our impaired numbers year to date. Now, I'll qualify this. Actually, last year was a record year for a UOE for impaired driving charges, which again, did we just get better at catching them, or were there more impaired drivers out there? It's how do you want to interpret that? Right now, our numbers are 86 year to date, which is down 20% from last year. That's just for impaired drivers. I will say that when the legalization of marijuana happened, there was a very large section of the public and the media that was really like, well, the impaired driving by drug is going to go through the roof and we're going to have so many instances. That has not been the case. I didn't do the breakdown of these numbers. I do know last year during Festive Ride, last year, 2019, 2020 Festive Ride, of the, I think we were close to around 20 impaireds over the course of that 2 weeks. One was due to drugs. I mean, that's still one too many. The reality is, I think it's 100% an issue. It's still an issue in Canada. I live in White Lake and I have the same issues every day when I walk my dog. I pick up cans and then a week later, there's still more cans. So is it people that are just having a beer on their way home? Maybe. That's still illegal. It's a ticket. It's not a criminal offense. But I think there's always going to be, and you will have people that will drive impaired no matter what. Doesn't matter how many times you charge them, and you see it in the media all the time. Oh, buddy caused his crash. It's his fifth impaired. Charge. That there are just people out there that will. They are alcoholics and they will drive no matter what. Those people exist, and certainly we want to target those. Are there people that will come home from a Christmas party and they had three glasses of wine instead of 2 and blow over? Yes, that's true. Is it illegal? Yes, if they are over 80 milligrams, it is a criminal code offense, and actions have consequences, I always say. What I can say is that the impaired driving, along with the other 3 offenses, constitute the big 4, and that is every traffic plan that we have in the OPP for well, we just finished Operation Impact this weekend. I don't have the numbers yet. I apologize. I was hoping they were going to come out before the meeting. But I can tell you the officers were out. I can tell you our biggest hit was somebody, this is an 80-kilometer-per-hour zone, doing 188. Like, I mean, our cruisers don't even do that. And this fool is out doing 188 in an 80. So when I said about actions having consequences, he's gonna, this is an allegation, not convicted of anything. He will have his day in court, but he is lost his vehicle. He's lost his driver's license temporarily. The vehicle is impounded. There'll be a traffic court date down the road with what I imagine will be a heavy fine, and certainly the insurance ramifications that come afterwards when you are deemed a at-risk driver.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll move on to, I think, the biggest complaint across Renfrew County, and that's excessive speed. Is there any one of council want to voice a concern of this, or we'll let Inspector Neufeld open the discussion on this? Because I know it's a huge problem in my area, and I know many other areas of Renfrew County, the complaints about speed. I get phone calls and emails, and I see it in front of my own house on a daily issue. Anyone want to start off, or is there, I know a number of years ago, Inspector, there used to be a team that traveled around.
That was me.
That was you?
That was me. I was the sergeant in charge of that team. Doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, I strongly feel that it should be brought back.
I agree.
I don't, the idea of, you talk about consequences of life and death. I think the excessive speeding is at this point, I know officers can't be everywhere all the time, but either a team like you used to have needs to be reestablished and out there moving around through Renfrew County anyways, and I'm sure other counties would be much appreciative, and I'm sure your email list would jump substantially if they saw that happening. And the other alternatives would be to help municipalities obtain photo radar. I know some of the municipalities down in the GTHA area, and I think Ottawa too, are getting photo radar and stop sign photography in place. And it seems to be about the only solution to stopping the speeding, because it's just rampant, and the chances of them without a dedicated team in place doing radar out there or photo radar, it's just not going to stop, and they're just not slowing down.
So I don't disagree with your statements. Certainly, the return of the Highway Safety Division in that enforcement side, that's not a decision that I have any control over. What I can speak to is certainly, and again, I don't know if this just relates to COVID and more people at home seeing this, but I do think that there has certainly been an uptick in the number of speeding complaints that we've received in the office. And I don't know if you've seen that, Pat, as well in Killaloe.
Yes. And in Bonashare Valley, if I can jump in, Inspector, they have a speed sign. So what it's doing is, and I'm sure I'm not telling anyone stuff they don't already know, but it's tracking. They'll put it at a location where their community members have complained about speeding, and they'll put the sign there, and they'll do it for a week, from a Wednesday to a Wednesday, and then they share the data with me, and I can see, or we all can see, the times what every car is doing. So it registers the number of cars that are, let's say it was a 50-kilometer-an-hour zone, the number of cars that are going 0 to 50, and then it goes in 10-kilometer-an-hour increments, 10 to 60, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80. It'll track how many, et cetera, and they'll track how many cars were doing what. And then it gives you the day of the week and the time of day. So from that, we can have a look at, we can quantify whether there's a speeding issue there, whether it's a perception, whether it's a rarity, or whether it's something that happens because a certain work location lets out and everybody's zooming through to get home, whatever the case may be. I can say that having looked at those weekly data sheets, sometimes the community member is correct. Sometimes it's a perception thing. And I'll go back to what Inspector Neufeld says is, there's a finite amount of police resources, and we have to, our priority is calls for service. Can we be proactive? Absolutely, we will. I don't think Inspector Neufeld would disagree with me insofar as we ask of our officers, the expectation is if you're not doing calls for service, you're out there doing traffic safety, education, engagement, and enforcement, because that's where we can make a difference. 100%. There is the ability to increase community safety and well-being through traffic safety. So that's what we ask of our officers. But it's not just about the calls for service. And I'm speaking just from Killaloe here. Within the past, since COVID hit, our domestics have gone up, family disputes have gone up, neighbor disputes have gone up. People are at home now, and they're just realizing now that they're not getting along with their spouse. They don't like their neighbor. Their kids, they're about to choke them out. People are stressed. We're going to those calls for service, and at the same time, trying to get out there and be proactive on the traffic safety side. Add to all that, that a domestic dispute now, what used to take an hour, takes us half a shift, if not to a full shift, depending on the severity of that call. It's just all of this playing in together with how do you maximize the use of our finite police resources? And I don't disagree with you at all, Chair, when you said maybe technology and photo radar and those kinds of things are the way to go. I'm sure if the OPP, I don't think the OPP would argue with you the importance of traffic safety and putting out a traffic team there. It's just, where do the bodies come from? When you need to fill the front line, we also have other demands in the community. And by community, we're looking at Ontario, missing persons and unidentified bodies, MPUP. That's a huge issue right now. I know we have bodies that were taken from various locations in the OPP and reallocated. So you'll get no argument.
Cybercrime.
Sorry?
Cybercrime. Are there any criminal offenses that aren't related to the internet happening? The answer is no. We need bodies to fill those units.
That if you want to know what's real, like, I'm sure the municipalities are getting phone calls about speeding, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I can tell you right now, there are more people in your community getting hit by cyber fraud than there ever are people speeding. And it's happening every day to the people in your community. How do we combat that? They're taking thousands and thousands of dollars from our community members, and it's hurting us. I'll take a step back.
I must say, it is very refreshing to hear you say that you have now become proactive as a police force. Because I sat on the police association committee for quite a while, up until I got tired of hearing or being told that the OPP has become a reactive police force and only reacted to calls. And that came directly from an inspector more than once. Pardon?
Not this guy.
Well, I won't put a name to it, but
We're
I'm
not here
sure.
to throw anybody under the bus. What I'm here to tell the committee is that, is speeding an issue? 100%.
Yeah, so I would appreciate if municipalities can go ahead to get photo radar, any help up the line with provincial government or anything, that the OPP, and I know above your situation, if you guys can push up above yourselves to help us get that, it would be appreciated. McNabb Braeside has gone out and got a piece of equipment. It's not a sign showing people the speed they're doing. So it's, we're being a little more sneaky about it and not
Is
letting
it the
them.
black cat, sir?
Sorry,
The black cat?
I believe
one?
it is.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. We're exploring it here in Upper Ottawa Valley as well.
We're using that to track the speed and the size of the vehicle and the number of vehicles. And we just recently got it. Unfortunately, the first one was a lemon. We had to send it back and get a new one, but we're going to start keeping track of all the speeds and the size of vehicles and number of vehicles, et cetera, sort of on the sly. And we will be passing the information on to Inspector Ferguson, and we're hopefully use the information to move forward with obtaining a photo radar machine in McNabb-Braysac.
That's awesome, Chair. I'm not advocating for any one company or whatever. If the municipalities, speaking from Killaloe, if the municipalities want to support me and the detachment with allocating our finite resources as best as we can, and help yourselves out when you get those phone calls into your councils or your main office complaining about speeding, wouldn't it be nice if you can put up a speed monitoring device at that location for a week and help that community member understand, is what you're seeing true or not, and then to what degree, and have an explanation for them of finite resources, we'll try and get there. And that's my responses back to Bonnechere Valley is, I can see where the issues are. If there's a significant issue there, I generate an occurrence, I put it out to my detachment, they go do enforcement there when they're able to proactively, and then they put a supplementary report to that occurrence showing how often we were out there.
Well, that's exactly our intention, because we know that not everybody can watch a car go by and tell exactly whether they're speeding or not, and that's our intention to let our residents know, yes, you're right, they are speeding, or no, you're incorrect, they're not speeding. But it's definitely going to be an information tool to send to Inspector Ferguson.
Yeah.
Councillor Bennett, you had your hand up, please. No? I thought I saw your hand.
And if I may add to that, it's not just about the cops laying tickets, because I want to be able to stop the speeding before, if that's possible, right? We want prevention. We want education and engagement. Well, if you're setting, and we did this in Nottawasaga, where I spent some time, and we did this in Huronia West. When we set them up on these particular roads, what we found was it was the speeding that was being complained about and was a reality was directly attributable to large employers in those respective areas, and it was their shift changes. And all we did was we went to the employer and we showed them the data. That's prevention, that's education and engagement. I'd much rather be doing that than giving community members, they're not criminals, let's be clear. They're people speeding for whatever reason. They don't typically speed, but on that day they did, whatever, or they're eager to get home, whatever the case may be. But I'd rather be educating and engaging than jamming Joe or Jill Public, who's done probably nothing wrong in their whole life, and giving them a ticket. That's not community engagement to me. I'd rather get them ahead of time and say, these are the implications. This is what's happening. And, that can be a construction company locally here. That's, and by some of those devices, as you're probably aware, you can tell whether it's a motorcycle going by or a car or a tractor trailer unit. And even if that tractor trailer unit is pulling 2 trailers, like those devices, and you can put them on a pole, you can't see them anymore. So it's not like you're seeing the the tubes going across the road anymore. And the last thing you want to do is the flashing speeding sign, because if they're showing your speed, you know people are going to use that to test their speedometer. It's true, like it does. And even the ones that you can lock out the numbers that are recording the speed, and all they do is they blip, they flash. Well, people want to see them flash. Kids get a big kick out of that. Those are the kinds of, that's why having something that is hidden and very disguised, but still achieving what you want, to me, that's the ideal piece of kit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Then I want to thank Inspector Neufeld and Staff Sergeant DiSicario for spending the time with us this morning. I think we've had interesting discussion and a lot of information back and forth this morning. So gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time to join us this morning, and hope you have a great day for the rest of your day, and please take care out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does committee want to take a few minutes break, and we'll come back in 10 minutes? Or do you want to carry on? Break?
Okay, break, yes, thanks, sir.
Break, okay, we'll have a 10-minute break and we'll be back shortly. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. Councillor Emo, you had something?
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question. My impression is that from this discussion, there was no actions generated. We already know about the SAVE team and in terms of, and the local detachments in terms of calling them if, especially regarding, some of the county properties. And then also, it looks like if we can generate decent data for them, they would appreciate it. So I think that I just wanted to make sure there was no expectations of enhanced service from them to us and action from us to them.
Warden Robinson, please. You're muted, Warden.
Sorry, I've got two screens going on here now. When I asked Steph about enhancement as far as speeding on our trails were concerned, he did say he'd get back to us with some ideas. Now, he did mention money too, but I'd like to see the idea first, and then we can decide as a council if it's worth pursuing.
Thank you. Perhaps there could be a very brief synopsis of what was discussed, put out by the Operations Committee, just a generalization of what was discussed in a report form to all of County Council. Would that be appropriate, Mr. Morrow?
Thank you, Chair. My suggestion would be then that the information item and the report be brought forward as an information item to County Council as part of that report, Chair, if that works for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Public Works and Engineering Department report. Mr. Perkins, please.
Make sure you mean.
Good morning, committee, and through you, Chair, to committee. This month's report is a monthly project status report, of course, is attached as Appendix 1. Additional project-specific information will be provided in the divisional reports. The capital program variance report is attached as Appendix 2. And again, Mr. Bean will speak to this in his report as well, but you'll see right now that we're forecasted at $163,936 over budget. So on $20 million, that's not too bad, I don't think. And we may still get some savings in the next couple of weeks, but we'll see. The monthly treasurer's report is attached as Appendix 3 from August 2020. And item number 4 is Highway 148 and County Road 40 traffic report. As committee will recall from the August meeting, a request from the Township of Laurentian Valley was submitted to complete a traffic study for the intersection of Highway 148 and County Road 40, which is Greenwood Road. The completed count is attached as Appendix 4. From the results, as per the Ontario Traffic Manual, traffic signal is not warranted. The results have been forwarded to the Township of Laurentian Valley and to the Ministry of Transportation Ontario. The current plan has the MTO redesigning the slip lanes, but will continue to use a stop sign with a T intersection. And this intersection is, of course, the sole responsibility of MTO. Item 5 is flooding on Leduc Road in the Township of BLR. Attached as Appendix 5 is an email from the Clerk Treasurer of the Township of Brudenell, Lindock, and Raglan requesting assistance from the County of Renfrew to resolve an annual flooding issue that occurs at the intersection of Chute Road and Ledkey Road. So staff will review this request and provide a recommendation at a future meeting. County Road 62 in Combermere Road, County Road 62 or Combermere Road parking. So attached as Appendix 6 is a municipal report and resolution from the Township of Madawaska Valley requesting the County of Renfrew to consider adding parking along County Road 62 north side from Hargraves Lane easterly. So again, staff will review this request and provide a recommendation at a future meeting. Item 7, meeting with the Garrison Petawawa. So on September 11th, 2020, Warden Robinson, Chair Peckett, CAO Paul Morrow, Development and Property Director Craig Kelly, and myself met with Garrison Petawawa command staff. County staff advised of the following work being proposed within the town of Petawawa. So completion of a design and Class A estimate for 3 intersections on County Road 51, Petawawa Boulevard, has been approved by County Council and is expected by January 2021. Traffic lights will be upgraded at County Road 16, Victoria Street, and County Road 26, Doran Road. There is a shave and pay program for County Road 51, Petawawa River Bridge is scheduled for 2021. And structure B203, Petawawa River Bridge is scheduled for rehabilitation in 2022. So we shared all that with the garrison to make sure that they are aware of what's going to happen in the next little while. Item 8 is Whitewater Region Township draft parking law. Attached as Appendix 7 is a draft parking bylaw from the Township of Whitewater Region. Staff will review the bylaw and see what implications this may have to the County of Renfrew's bylaw. And with that, I'll send it back to you, Chair, for questions.
Thank you, Lee. Any questions on item number 1? Warden Robinson?
Thank you very much, Chair. Just, I noted that we call it active transportation in one of the line items. Is that the correct terminology we should be using?
Shoulders, but get Mr. Perkins to answer that.
I'll need to get back to you on that, Warden, because what I understand is there's an active transportation policy that the county operates by. But when the engineering and the public works department does work, we actually do it as hard and shoulders. We don't call it active transportation, but the county of Renfrew does have an active transportation policy, but I can clarify later.
Thank you.
Item number 2. Item 3. Item 4. Warden Robinson.
Thank you very much, Chair. And through you to Mr. Perkins, thank you very much for doing the traffic study. I do understand that the criteria has changed over the last couple of years. So I just had a couple of questions. So the total number of vehicles that went through that intersection on that Wednesday were 9,657. Do you know what number had to go through there for it to check the right box to have traffic signals there?
Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Madam Warden. Actually, I don't know offhand. I'd have to check with our tech, but I can certainly get back to you.
Thank you. I would appreciate it because, you know, at one point, MTO's position would have been that this intersection does need traffic lights. I don't know why that position was changed or when it was changed. So that is certainly a concern because again, you know, Laurentian Valley does not think that the intersection the way it is now or the way it is being designed with just a longer right merge is the right thing to do for when we're looking at a 20-year span for this. Mr. Perkins, I know you've seen the MTO intersection drawings or plan. Can I put you on the spot and just ask what your opinion of that design is? Could you turn on your mic, please?
Yeah, my opinion doesn't supersede the MTO. The MTO is, we have a lot of touch points as the county of Renfrew with the MTO in all areas of the county. So, and being that this is their intersection and their responsibility. So I defer to their expertise and skills in this matter.
Excellent response. Thank you.
Very political answer.
He's running for office.
Anything else on item 4? Item 5. Councillor Keller.
Thank you, Chair, and to committee and staff. Thanks for addressing the issue and, you know, looking at the request. I know this is a location on near Chute. The elevation of the creek as it crosses the county road is very flat, and as it goes down to Litke Lake. And we believe the problem is one lane of the road predominantly will flood in the spring, which ultimately on the county side that will ultimately lead to hydroplaning in places. And a lot of times vehicles veer into the opposite lane to try and avoid this flooding. If we believe that if the road was raised, that would allow us also to raise our township section of the road, which would alleviate the flooding in the future. So thanks for the consideration.
Like a partnership solution. That I hope can be worked out. Thank you. Anything else on 5? Item 6. 7. We had a very good meeting with Garrison Petawawa that day. Item 8.
Councillor Lynch.
Councillor Lynch, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just curious if Mayor Sweet was informed of your meeting and how it went.
But he couldn't make it.
Actually, Mayor Sweet was invited to attend that day, but had an important previous commitment and could not attend. But after the meeting, was informed of what occurred at the meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else on 7? Item 8. Seeing none, we're moving on to resolutions. Number 9, tourism signage fees, and there is a recommendation, so I need a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Lynch, seconded by Councillor Emo. Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. The recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommend that the County Council approve waiving the tourism signage fees on county roads for the remainder of 2020 at the next session of Council. So the background here is during the month of April, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, billing for tourism signage was postponed. The total loss of revenue to the county will be $44,000 for 2020. Signage fees are based on a 5-year cycle, with a small sign costing a business $300 and a large sign costing $425. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, it is believed tourism operators will have a number of financial difficulties. And by waiving these fees until 2021, this may help reduce fiduciary concerns for these operators. Staff has confirmed that there are savings available in the operations budget to accommodate this request on a one-time basis.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. And I do apologize for having so many questions in this report. I had a very relaxing long weekend, so my brain is recharged. So I would like us to consider amending the resolution so that the tourism fees be waived until January of 2022. And my reason for doing that is that there's no possible way that our tourism sector is going to bounce back in the next few months. When you look at the D&P report this afternoon, it indicates that in the non-metro parts of Ontario, the 21% of the impact is in the accommodation and food industry. So I think we owe it to these tourism operators to do whatever we can to try to help them survive in the coming year. So that I'm moving an amendment if I can get a seconder for that.
I'll second it.
Sorry, I saw so many hands. I didn't hear who.
It was me, Peter.
Okay, second that, seconded by Councillor Emo. I totally agree with that. So I'm just going to call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And I also will ask Mr. Morrow if there's any possible way that the loss to the county can be recovered from funds given to the county to help offset losses created by COVID funds or that were given to the county because of COVID losses, would that qualify under the rules for the county to recoup the money lost in that?
If I may, Chair, through you to committee, I believe there may be that opportunity, but I would need to clarify that with Mr. Foss.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Chair, if I may, just a procedural issue or concern. We voted on the amendment, but we did not vote on the resolution.
Okay, so we can go back now and vote on the resolution
As amended.
as amended.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was just eager to get that through. It was such a good resolution.
Understood.
Does committee want Mr. Perkins to reread the motion as amended? Not seeing anybody saying yes, so everybody understands it. So all in favor of the motion as amended? Carried, thank you. Just eager. Okay, now we have a recommendation under item number 10, the Calvary Baptist Church retaining wall. So I need a mover and seconder to get that on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Bennett, second by Councillor Lynch. Mr. Perkins, please, you want to read the recommendation?
So item 10, Calvary Baptist Church retaining wall. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee direct staff to remove the existing retaining wall and landscape grade and reseed the area at the Calvary Baptist Church located at 148 Queen Street in Killaloe, Ontario. So the background here is the above recommendation was tabled at the June 9th, 2020 meeting of Operations Committee with a direction to county staff to obtain further information regarding ownership of the roadway and the original retaining wall. So attached as Appendix 8 is the legal opinion received from Borden Ladner Jarvis of Ottawa. Staff has also received a survey from Adam Kasperzak Survey Limited, and that's attached as Appendix 9, which indicates that the current wall on County Road 512 Queen Street is within the County of Renfrew's right-of-way. A remaining section of wall is on Call Street and would be the responsibility of the Township of Killaloe, Haggerty, Richards. Thus, before proceeding with any work, the Township would need to be consulted as to their intentions with regard to the wall repair on Call Street. The Township has not been yet consulted as a decision from Operations Committee is required. With regards to the legal opinion, as when and by whom the existing wall was built, there's no definitive proof that this isn't the original wall installed by the Ministry of Ontario or the Ministry of Transportation Ontario. The retaining wall that remains on Call Street is a contiguous structure, as well as the retaining wall on the opposite side of County Road 512 for the St. Andrew's Catholic Church, which was the applicable style that MTO installed throughout the county. If I may, Chair, with your permission, I'd just like to share my screen for a moment. So what we've done is, of course, this is the Queen Street area. So this is on your right is the wall we're talking about, and as you can see, it's quite different than the wall that's on the left. So by going through different areas in the county, you'll see that the wall that's on the left is the style that the ministry built. Obviously, this one that's on the Calvary Baptist Church side of the road is a much more aesthetically pleasing than this one here. But just to show, so back to share again. So here, this is County Road 511 in Calabogie. So as you can see, there's a continuous wall, and this was another one that was installed at the time for when MTO did these retaining walls throughout the county. And there are a number of other examples, but I leave it with committee to decide how you would like to go forward with this.
Councillor TJ.
Sorry, getting used to this unmuting. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So Lee, why would we not do exactly the same as what's across the road and you're just saying to reseed it and let it, I worry. I spoke with my road super and he's very nervous about that. He thinks that there's going to be trouble. You know, that it won't stand up. So why would we not do what was done across the road? I know that you said MTO did it, but obviously it's there and it's holding the wall up. I think if you take everything down, you're going to have trouble. And I haven't spoken to my council about what our intention is on Call Street, but again, it could be a partnership. But I'm not an engineer. I admit to that, but I'm nervous about taking that retaining wall and just leaving it and seating it and all that. I think because if you look at it, it looks like there might be trouble with it. So anyways, I just wondered why we wouldn't consider doing what's across the road that the MTO did, and other areas as you indicated and showed pictures of.
We got to mute.
Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee and to Councillor TJ. This is just my recommendation to do what is fiscally responsible in terms of what the county can do. Back to all the documentation that's attached is someone changed that wall. The wall is failing because of what someone did, and it wasn't the MTO's original wall. So in terms of the county putting back an expensive wall, this is a cheaper solution. So, but I will leave it to you guys.
I had Warden Robinson and then Councillor TJ.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I understand the intent of the recommendation, although I'm going to ask committee's indulgence for an amendment to it as well. And I'm going to suggest that the Operations Committee recommend to County Council that staff advise the Township of Killaloe Haggerty Richards that the county intends to remove the existing retaining wall within the County of Renfrew's right-of-way and landscape, grade, and reseed the area at the Calvary Baptist Church, 148 Queen Street in Killaloe, Ontario, and confirm the Township's plan for the remaining portion of the wall on Cole Street. The reason why I'm suggesting this is that the way the recommendation reads now is that we're going to do this, and we'll without any consultation to the municipality involved. And I just think that I think it sends the wrong message the way it's worded. We will definitely want to consult with the municipality on this, I would believe, and maybe there's a partnership or whatever happens. So I would like to see it more of a, I don't know, more of a congenial recommendation as far as this is what we're doing, and we're going ahead with it. But I need a seconder for that.
Sure, Chair, I'll second that.
Chair, you're muted.
Okay, so I'm told I have to mute when Mr. Perkins is talking because we're in the same room and it affects his speaking. So I'm going to go now to Councillor TJ, and then I believe Mr. Morrow had his hand up, and I'll go to him after that.
Thank you. That's fine. I understand what Lee is saying, and if the county is not prepared to do anything different, as I said, I haven't spoken to my council, and I did speak to my road super, and he has concerns about just with removing it, but then that wouldn't be my problem. It would be a county problem, so I guess I shouldn't have to worry about that. Anyways, thank you. That's fine.
Morrow, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think part of what wasn't mentioned was that all retaining walls have a propensity to fail over time. And the solution that's being recommended here suggests that it's a more permanent solution. And in the longer term, we'll have less of a financial liability, because when you regrade and slope, all you need to do in the future, should there be a problem, is regrade and slope again, as opposed to reconstruct another retaining wall. So that is there is an engineering element to that as well that is related to the financial component of the recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a little bit of issue with this. The cut in the roadway is substantial, and the grade that would have to go on there is substantial. I don't, if we're looking at that road being built and engineered, and that's what was required then, I don't know why engineering isn't required to show us that the water flows going down that road, the water flows coming down the bike, and everything are adequate to take a grade off that road. To me, it's almost impossible to get a grade on a 3 meter cut with about a 3 meter backslash to the property that's even close to being adequate to contain heavy roadway down floods. And also what it's doing to Queen Street as we move downwards, because now we're creating a situation where we're taking 300 feet of land and pushing the water down there. And I don't see that working adequately for what the structure is built for to begin with. The engineers at the time obviously looked at it and said, this is what we need to do. And I don't think financial consideration should be coming in to this. It should be what's needed to replace what was designed with to begin with. The retaining wall on the other side obviously stood up better. And I would think that if we remove some of the earth out of what was put there 10 or 12 years ago as a retaining wall, you'll find the remnants of the actual old retaining wall buried under that ground. So I'm struggling with that because I don't believe we're actually looking at what the consequences of tapering that bank is actually going to do for the county.
Thank you. Councillor Lynch, please.
Thank you, Chair. To go back to the warden's recommendation, I think there's got to be a discussion between the municipalities, their portion, as well as the county, because you can't just remove ours and not remove theirs. So between the two of them to get together to give us the best engineering solution, whether we're going to do the whole bank, none of the bank, or put up a whole new structure. But to have an opportunity between the municipality and the county to have a correct decision, then come back to us. Right now, we're in limbo on both.
Thank you. Anyone else? Morrow, please.
Chair, would you like me to read the amendment?
I think that would be good.
That the Operations Committee recommend to County Council that staff advise the Township of Killaloe, Haggerty, Richards that the county intends to remove the existing retaining wall within the County of Renfrew's right-of-way and landscape, grade, and reseed the area at the Calvary Baptist Church, 148 Queen Street in Killaloe, Ontario, and confirm the township's plan for the remaining portion of the retaining wall on Call Street.
Thank you. The motion is in front of us. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. All those opposed? 4, sorry. When there was 4 people in favor. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that's
the amendment. That's the motion on the amendment. So now the vote on the amended motion.
okay. So all those in favor of the amended motion, all those in favor?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to suggest the amendment initiates some discussion. So
Yes.
I'm more inclined to support what Councillor Bennett was saying if I was pushed to the wall to make a decision on this today. This allows some discussion, and I'm not opposed to somebody coming back and amending or repealing this motion at a later date with a different plan. The key to this, as the warden has noted, is it includes an element of discussion with that council and probably the community. And so I'd like to encourage that. So that's just to be clear, that's why I'm supportive of the amended motion.
I'm in support of it as well, because I want to see some discussion between Killaloe, Haggerty, Richards Municipal Council and Public Works at Renfrew County. I want to see some discussion between the two to perhaps come up with a solution or a partnership or something that could be worked out. Councillor TJ, please.
Yes, but the motion says that direct staff remove the retaining wall. It doesn't say to talk and then decide what to do. So you're saying two things. You're saying in the comments that you want the county to talk to our township, which is absolutely wonderful. That's the direction I like. But in that motion, you're saying that you're directing staff to take that wall down. So you're not, that's the way when I heard the warden reading the motion, that's the way it's said. So that's why I'm not supporting it. If you want to put everything on hold and talk with us, and then we can come up with a plan, I support it. But if you're saying, let's go ahead and direct the staff to remove it and then talk to the council about what we're going to do at our end, then I don't support that. So maybe I'm wrong, but.
Mr. Morrow, please, you straighten this, because I was under the assumption with the amendment that we were going to get some discussion going forward.
Chair, I think it's probably be appropriate for me to reread the motion that has been amended now, as amended, because I think it does say this, that the Operations Committee recommend to County Council that staff advise the Township of Killaloe, Haggerty, Richards that the county intends to remove the existing retaining wall within the county Renfrew's right-of-way and landscape grade reseed the area at the Calvary Baptist Church at 148 Queen Street in Killaloe, Ontario, and confirm that the township's plan for the remaining portion of the retaining wall. So it does not direct staff to remove, it directs staff to advise the municipality of the intent to remove and what our plan is moving forward.
So, and that's the recommendation that was passed 4-3.
Correct. That is the amended resolution.
Okay, so Councillor TJ, does that not meet?
No, okay, so I apologize, but I didn't hear the warden say that. So I wrote down quickly what she was saying, and I didn't hear that, I heard going back to county council, but I did not hear, I heard direct the staff to proceed and talk to the township about the balance. So I apologize if I misunderstood. And so everything would be put on hold until you talk with us. So I don't know why the motion would need to say anything about what the intention is if in fact you want us to talk about it first. Anyways, that's just me, and I apologize if I misread.
I have Warden Robinson, and then Peter, Councillor Emo, you had your hand up. So Warden Robinson and then Councillor Emo.
Thank you very much. So I chose those words carefully when I wrote the amendment to the resolution. Actually sent exactly what I said to Paul so he could read it to everybody. So yes, I mean, at this point we intend to, but there has to be some consultation. And, during that consultation, if staff come back and say there's another solution or some ideas, that's what I want to see happen. What I didn't want to see happen is that it was like a top-down thing. We're removing the wall, and we're going to tell the municipality what we're doing. There has to be some consultation. It's going to impact that community. Thank you.
Councillor Emo, please.
Yes, thank you. And that was my rationale. The rationale also was to leave the seating and the removal in because that shows that there is an option that the county could pursue. And that would hopefully put some timeliness into the discussion. And so we can get it resolved. We've been talking about this since June, I believe. And, it'd be nice to get something set up for next budget cycle. So it's for me, it's a means of trying to get to the end of the solution.
Exactly. Okay, so Mr. Morrow, where are we at? We passed that motion, so
So Chair, we need a motion to vote on the amended resolution or the resolution as amended.
okay.
Well, I can move it.
So that's moved by Councillor Emo. And Board Robinson, you had a comment or seconded?
I'll second it.
Seconded? Okay, so then all in favor of the resolution as amended? Carried. Thank you. Okay. We're on to item 11, another recommendation about surplus 1980. That's a misprint on there. It should be a 1980 champion grader. Moved by Councillor Lynch, second by Councillor Keller. Recommendation, please, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. So this is item 11. This is a surplus 1980 champion grader. I apologize for the typo. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommend to County Council that a 1980 champion grader that was declared surplus be disposed of to the Renfrew County ATV Club for the purposes of trail maintenance in the amount of $1. And further, that staff be directed to negotiate the terms of disposal that will meet the needs of the Algonquin Trail Advisory Committee. So the background here is the 1980 champion grader was declared surplus for disposal in accordance with the corporate policy GA02, disposal of corporate assets, section 5. The Renfrew County ATV Club is a nonprofit organization, has offered to purchase the grader in the amount of $1 and in exchange for the provision of grading service of approximately $10,000 to grade 70 linear kilometers of the Algonquin Trail. Grading and brushing of the Algonquin Trail remains one of the key maintenance items, with several kilometers yet to be completed, and this relationship will be beneficial to both organizations.
Questions or comments?
Oh, Councilor.
Questions or comments, please?
Thank you, Chair. Probably Peter can expand on my comments, but this would be the second time we've donated a grader. One went to K&P, and they've used it successfully on their trail. It's a very good investment for the Algonquin Trail. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emo.
Yeah, and we've used a similar method to get a surplus paramedics vehicle over to Algonquin College in the past as well. And I think there's been there's one other instance I can't recall where we've done something similar. So it's, I believe it was to St. John's Ambulance. We've made some accommodation with them in the past as well. So it's a good way of investing in our community and investing in our community groups. There's no way this group could afford a new grader or a nearly new grader. And at the same time, as is noted, the quid pro quo is that we get some very excellent labor from them in terms of maintaining the trail and possibly enhancing it as we move forward. So, and I think, as you all agree, whenever you have more investment from the community, it certainly helps the project move along, because people tend to put in a lot more energy than if you were asking them. Once they volunteered it, they often double their energy. So this is a really good move on our part.
Thank you. Any other comments? Favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. On to bylaws 12, policy PW 14, pedestrian and trail crossings on county roads. Moved by Emo, second by Councillor Bennett. Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. This is policy PW 14, pedestrians and trail crossings on county roads. So the recommendation here is that the operations committee recommend that a bylaw be passed to amend corporate policy PW 14, pedestrian crossings on county roads, to reflect the addition of trail crossings on county roads, and further that bylaw 9018, being the bylaw to amend pedestrian crossings for the municipal road within the jurisdiction of the municipal corporation of the county of Renfrew, be rescinded at the next session of county council. So the background here is that the August meeting of committee, staff advised that the Eagles Nest Trail on County Road 508, Calabogie Road, in the township of Greater Madawaska received a solar pedestrian crossing system. This was a 50-50 cost shared item. Committee directed staff to complete a policy for any further considerations of this system. So attached as Appendix 10 is the revised corporate policy, PW 14, pedestrian and trail crossings on county roads. So that incorporates the trail crossings into the policy. The added sections are highlighted for committee's review and approval. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Warden Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, what happens when a county trail crosses a municipal road? In, like, we'll use the Algonquin Trail, for instance.
I should actually clarify that this is for hiking trails, not for snowmobile ATV crossings. So this is for pedestrian crossings on county roads for hiking trails, for lack of a better term.
Okay, I think possibly that maybe I read it in there, but that's where I was a little confused. If we were talking about a municipal trail crossing a county road, then the same should apply for a county trail crossing a municipal road. So, okay.
Councillor Emo, please.
Thank you. Page 59, item number 5 and 7. Item 5, as I understand it, the local municipality is responsible for the costs and the replacement. But then number 7 suggest and number 5 leads me to think that the municipality is responsible for the pavement marking. But then number 7 leads, so I just want some clarity on that. Then number 7 leads me to believe that the county is responsible for all of it, as including the pavement marking. So somehow the language has me a little confused, and that could just be me. And then number 5 also talks about the replacement. The municipality is responsible for the replacement. Who and what is the criteria to dictate the replacement of the equipment? Is it a 20-year cycle? Is it when new technology comes along? It's just, those are the kinds of things I think that 5 or 10 years down the road, when we're all gone from here, not from the planet, but from chambers, that that will cause confusion. Similar to, we just went through that with the uploading and downloading of county roads, and had to be straightened out. So that I'm just a little curious about those two pieces. And then it does seem to be somewhat different when you look at the yellowed stuff on 6 or on 60 and 61. So I just wanted to make sure that, if it could be clarified, or whether I was just reading, improperly.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Iman. Actually, I will get clarification from our tech for that. But what's happened here now is we've actually combined 2 policies, right? Which was the original pedestrian crossing. So there's no change to that. So the municipality is still responsible to do the layout and stuff like that, and then the county does maintain it from there on in. As for signals and stuff like that, I'm not sure, like you said, what the life cycle is, and then so if the pedestrian crossings fail, then the municipality repairs it. Now I know for us, we repair the the push button signals every time one of the little snow blowers tears them off. So, but and then the yellow section, of course, is what's related to the solar crossing lights. So, but I can definitely get clarification from the tech for that for you.
Okay, and thank you for doing this. I'm, when I ask questions, it's not a criticism so much as me trying to understand it.
No, thank you for the questions. Actually, it's these were one-offs for Shaw Woods and then for Calabogie. So with committee's direction, we went ahead and created this policy so that hopefully later in life, if it comes up again, we do have something to help municipalities and ourselves.
Thank you. Mr. Morrow, do you think we should actually table this then and have it brought back later when clarification has been made before we pass it or move along with it?
Chair, you read my mind.
Okay, so we will just table this bylaw and bring it back at a later date. Gordon Robinson?
I was just making the motion to table.
Councillor TJ?
I second it for the warden's motion.
Okay. Councillor Lynch, comment?
Thank you, Chair. The word trail crossing had me confused in that I was thinking the Algonquin Trail, not pedestrian hiking trails. Maybe we can change the word to clarify a pedestrian trail crossing. I don't know, just trail means trail to me.
I think there's a lot of clarification because the two of them have just been put together because a lot of trails are used for both, and it's going to be a bit of a confusing thing to straighten out. So Mr. Perkins and his team will work that out, and we'll bring it back at a later date. So we have a mover and seconder to table this. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So now we're moving on to infrastructure division. So Mr. Bain, please. Yeah, you're up.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, committee. I just have a small little bylaw here. It's just mainly a housekeeping bylaw that seemed to have been popping up a fair bit this summer. The recommendation, it's for County Road 52, Burnstown Road land transfer.
Sorry, it's a recommendation. I haven't got to the page. It's on page 62.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So I need a mover and seconder first, please. Councillor Lynch, Councillor Bennett. Okay, sorry, Mr. Bain.
No problem. The recommendation in front of committee is that the operations committee recommend that a bylaw be passed to acquire parts 6 to 11 on register plan 49R 11071 from Marlene Freetag and Mary Melcher for the sum of $1, and further that parts 6 to 11 on register plan 49R 11071 be dedicated as part of the public highway upon registration of the transfer documents.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The end of your report, Mr. Babe.
That is it. Nice and short, this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to operations division report. Mr. Baldock, please. It's on page 65.
Thank you, Chair Packett. And through you to committee, I present the operations division report for October 13th. Under information, item number 1 is summer operations. We're still continuing summer operations at this time and making preparations for the winter. Continue with some of the operations activities such as brushing, ditching, culvert cleanouts, and that'll continue until the snow flies. Item number 2 is winter operations. As I mentioned, we're preparing for winter. We're planning on meeting our November 1st deadline for having 50% of the equipment ready. And also for the November 15th deadline to be 100% ready. And just to let you know, night shifts patrols are scheduled to commence for November 15th, 2020, and we are staffing up our casuals at this time. Item B is winter sand. We're continuing putting up our winter sand piles. We're approximately 50% complete at this time, and we are anticipating that we'll be on schedule for November 15th for the winter season. Actually, sorry, for November 1st. Under item C, winter maintenance agreements. 2 of the winter maintenance agreements for County Road 517 and 635 were completed. County Road 517 Defoe Road, that agreement was completed with the Township of Carlomeo and at no cost increase for this upcoming season. Also, County Road 635 Swisher Road was completed with Pat Stewart Trucking Incorporated, again with no cost increase for this upcoming season. There's one multi-year agreement in place at this time, and that's with the town of Renfrew, and the term is from 2019 to 2029. And 2 other municipalities are considering entering into the multi-year agreement. That's the town of Arnprior and the town of Deep River. And the proposed term is 2020 to 2030. And they're reviewing that at this time. There are 2 multi-year facility rental agreements. And one of them is with Bonnechere Valley for the use of one bay at the Foymount Road Patrol. And that's in place for 1 more season. And the other agreement is with the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan for 1 bay at the Golden Lake Patrol. And again, that's for 1 more season. Item 3 under fleet management, disposal of surplus items. We recently circulated 2 items for consideration for the municipalities. One is the asphalt hot box, and the other one is a Dodge Ram 1500 pickup truck 4x4. Town of Deep River was a successful submission for that for the asphalt hot box at $2,700, and there were no bids for the Dodge Ram, so that'll proceed to public auction as soon as we can. And item 4 is quotation PWO 2020-25 at the Goshen Patrol, the replacement of 2 man doors. And as detailed in the report, 2 quotations were received as items 1 and 2, and that includes all applicable taxes. And the quotation has been awarded to RGT Kluche Construction Limited under the authorization of the Director of Public Works and Engineering. And the procurement followed the process set out in corporate policy GA01, procurement of goods and services. And if you have any questions on the report, I'd be pleased to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on item 1, summer operations? 2, winter operations A. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. Is there a deadline that Arnprior has to get back to you for this agreement?
Actually, we revised the agreement from last year, and we would proceed with the original agreement from that's still in place from 2 years ago. So it's really to look at the 10-year multi-year agreement. So there's no deadline at this time.
Thank you.
2B, winter sand. 2C, winter maintenance agreements. Is there, in the 1-year agreements, are they done just 1 year at a time, or would we start probably in the spring looking at a multi-year agreement with Foymount Patrol and the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan for multi-year agreements again, or do they just go year by year?
Through your chair packet to committee, we would seek to do a multi-year agreement. In the past, we've done 3-year agreements and they've worked out well. We would seek to do a multi-year with those partners again.
Thank you. Fleet management. Any questions? Councillor Emo.
Thank you. What is the website and the process again?
Through your chair
Bullock?
packet to, sorry,
Yeah, Mr. Bullock, please.
through your chair packet to Councillor Emon. We currently use the GovDeals website, and it's advertised across Ontario and into the United States as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted it out on this broadcast again.
Item 4, quotation. Any questions? Seeing none, move on to new business. I believe there is an item.
We need a mover and a seconder for our report as a whole.
Oh, sorry. Mover and seconder for report as a whole. Councillor Emo, Councillor Bennett. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. New business. Councillor Emo.
Chair, if I might, is it possible to schedule the MTO from Kingston in to update council? We used to have them show up to county council and they would talk about the investment they were making in their roads infrastructure throughout the county. So we and any changes to plow routes, any changes in contract, and they'd also do a bit of an update on possible safety measures that they were doing. They normally spent about 45 minutes, but it was a pretty informative. There was probably 18 slides, maybe 20 slides, and then they'd also touch base on Highway 17 as well, and the conversion to 417. So if it's possible, if we could get them to come back again. Kathy Moore used to do an excellent job, and I'm sure that her replacement would be adequate as well, but it was a good information for us, and then also for our public, because they talked about 211 or whatever their travel advisory service was. They talked about the installation of weather stations along the highway, and if they're adding more, and so it was, I think, a very useful exercise if Chair and the Warden would consider it.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Warden's in agreement. I'll have Mr. Perkins try and arrange that whenever it's possible.
Absolutely. I think since Kathy retired, I don't think they have been up, so it would be an excellent opportunity to meet her successor as well.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Chair, and note it. Certainly I can reach out to the MTO contacts and see if they can do their update again. Not an issue.
Thank you. So under new business for Tom Sidney.
So under new business, of course, gotta mute, sorry. The town of Renfrew's put in a request that just been received with regards to consideration for the county of Renfrew to make the intersection of County Road 6, Gillian Road, and Burnett Boulevard in the town of Renfrew a three-way stop. Of course, there's concerns with speeding in this area and the increase of pedestrians and bikers. So currently there are no hardened shoulders on Gillian Road. So that's a new item that's been brought forward. So I'm assuming what we'll do here is we'll go forward with staff and investigate if it's warranted or not.
This actually has come forward through citizen of the town of Renfrew, not the town of Renfrew, is Tom Sidney. This is the way the request came through. And I don't know if Mr. Councillor Emo wants to make any comment, as he is familiar with the area, but I told Mr. Sidney that we would put it on the agenda and get some information in regards to this intersection and see what we could do about it. So, Councillor Iman, do you have some inside information about this intersection? I'm not familiar.
Councillor Tom Sidney is a member of council for the town of Renfrew. He approached me about it, and I I suggested that he send a letter to to the county as it is a county-controlled intersection. His house is about 2 doors down from the intersection, and he has raised it a number of times that the speed along Gillen Road and and the truck traffic and was wondering how to slow it down. Has also raised concerns about the hardened shoulders not being wide enough on occasion as well. So I think this is part of his questioning is if if the shoulders aren't widened more, and then to slow the traffic down. And so I suggested to him that it would be brought up at committee after he'd spoken to you again, and that likely normally the committee then directs staff to consult with the town, and if there's any warrant implications or traffic study implications, then there has to be some discussion. So I think he's now aware of the process and has been aware of the process for some time.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Perkins will investigate further into that, and we'll go through the appropriate process to see what can be done.
Sure, and I think we should drag Horton Township in too, because Gillen Road goes out into Horton, doesn't it, Dave?
It's
Warden
the only
Robinson.
way in for some of them.
Warden Robinson, please.
And thank you, Chair. And I do appreciate Councillor Emo's comments. With all due respect to an individual resident having a concern, I would like to see before our staff start doing reports on each individual who comes with a concern in the county, is that we look back to the municipal council to get their position on it as well before we go forward. So there is a process. I certainly respect Councillor Sidney's concern, but we need to make this manageable for our staff as well.
Thank you. I made that clear to Mr. Sidney. So thank you very much. Anything else under new business? Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. This will actually be Mr. Beam's last presentation here at council. He's going back to his former position, which is the Supervisor of Technical Services here with the County of Renfrew. So we're very pleased to have him going back to his old role. Mr. Hanrath will actually be stepping in on our next committee meeting to present the infrastructure report. So on a personal note, I just wanted to thank Mike for his assistance and his support to make the transition for me here in the last year and 9 months to much more fluid. Mike's team is responsible for $20 million worth of work this year. So my hat is off to Mike, and I truly appreciate his efforts and his team's efforts to being shorthanded over the last few months too. Has been a hand tied behind his back. So I think he did quite well, and very admirable that he's going to step back and let Mr. Hanrath take the reins. So just wanted to make sure committee was well aware of that.
Warden Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins, for letting us know that. And Mr. Beam, your efforts did not go unnoticed, and we all of council certainly appreciate all the effort you put into it, and it's been an absolute delight to be able to work with you.
Thank you. On behalf of the entire committee, Mike, I'd like to thank you for all the help you've given us. You've certainly been an asset to this committee and myself personally. All your assistance and information. I'm going to miss you on the committee here, and wish you complete success and going back to where you were. But I wish you. I know you'll do well. So thank you so much for all your help.
Thank you for the kind words, everyone. Greatly appreciated. Pleasure working with all of you. Thank you.
Okay, date of the next, there's no closed meeting. Date of the next meeting, October 28th, correct?
November 17th. Next committee meeting.
Oh, sorry, county council is October 28th.
Yeah, next committee is November 17th.
November 17th for the next committee
Sorry,
meeting.
November 10.
Correct.
And
We changed
November
again.
10th.
We're having to change around because our director is going to be away. Anyway, thank you, everyone. I need a mover to and seconder to adjourn, please. Councillor Bennett, Warden Robinson, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.